Dear Chosen One, there's a law in this universe that even time can't outrun, the law of divine return. The balance always restores itself. What's planted in deception will bloom in exposure. What's built on betrayal will collapse under truth. You throw chaos into the world, and chaos circles back. You try to trip someone with thorns, and you end up bleeding when the path doubles back. The universe doesn't rush, but it never forgets. And right now, it's remembering you. Chosen One, you were never just another soul passing through this world. You were the glitch in their system, the disruption they couldn't erase, the ripple they couldn't predict. They thought they had you buried. They thought your silence meant surrender. But what they didn't know is, you were never gone. You were growing. The storm wasn't over, it was just loading. And now, the irony hits like thunder. Every trap they set for you became the pit they fell into. Every curse they whispered became the echo that circles their own name. Every time they tried to shut you out, the universe turned up the volume on your purpose. Because when you're chosen, your mere presence haunts the people who tried to bury you. Your wins echo louder. Your return is unforgettable. You're not just back. You're becoming the force they swore would never rise again. So if you feel that fire stirring in your chest again, it's not by accident. That heat you're sensing, that's prophecy. That's power reactivating inside of you. You didn't stumble onto this message. You were summoned. Before we go deeper into what's about to shake the ground beneath those who doubted you, I want to take a sacred moment to say thank you to each of you who has poured love into this message through your super thanks donations. Your energy sustains this movement. Whether you donate or simply lend your presence here, know that you are deeply appreciated and divinely seen. Your support is the fire behind this frequency. Now, if your soul feels aligned with this moment, if you know you were born to rise through what was meant to destroy you, type 999 in the comments right now, not just as a symbol, but as a spiritual charge, a pulse that connects every chosen one watching. Let's electrify this space with holy intention. Let your vibration echo. This isn't just another video. This is the return they never prepared for. The version of you even you didn't know was being forged in silence. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why the world won't know what hit it. Let's begin. God's chosen ones, OMG. Who are you? This isn't just a comeback. You're about to shock the world. Number 1. Stop mistaking isolation for rejection. Chosen. 1. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, wondering why everyone seemed to vanish when you needed them most? Why did their messages stop? Why did they turn cold, distant, or silent without explanation? Could it be that what you thought was rejection was actually divine redirection? Have you been labeling a spiritual upgrade as abandonment simply because you didn't recognize heaven's surgical precision? You weren't discarded, you were extracted. That's a revelation many overlook. Let them believe they pushed you out. Let them assume they removed you because you no longer fit in. But the truth that only heaven knows is this: your energy was never meant to remain in a space that couldn't respect it. What if the discomfort you felt wasn't about their attitude, but about your anointing no longer being in alignment with the environment around you? You were never rejected. You were relocated, quietly, strategically, like pulling a wire from a bomb right before detonation, like removing a gem from contaminated soil before it could be corroded by toxicity. God did not waste a single detail. Every painful goodbye, every conversation that fizzled into silence, every connection that suddenly snapped, it wasn't a collapse, it was a cleanse. But why do we mourn when heaven moves us? Why do we feel abandoned when the Spirit intervenes? Perhaps it's because we're conditioned to equate presence with value, but presence can be deceptive. Some people only remained in your life because they were benefiting from the light you didn't even know you carried. The moment you began to realize your worth, heaven began pulling the plug. And when God pulls a plug, it's never a punishment, it's preparation. Do you recall how David was anointed as king while still in obscurity? His own father didn't even think to bring him forward when the prophet arrived. That wasn't rejection, it was redirection. David wasn't overlooked, he was preserved. You too, chosen one, have been preserved. Not for exclusion, but for elevation. And just like David, your name will be called at the appointed time, not because you chased the crowd, but because you stayed aligned with your calling. Every no you received, every door that closed in your face, every smile that felt fake, was never meant to diminish you. It was heaven filtering your atmosphere. You were not being punished, you were being polished. There's a reason diamonds aren't left out in the open. They're hidden, protected, cut, and refined in silence. Think about it. When a weapon is being upgraded, it's not left on the battlefield. It's taken to the forge, sharpened in fire, and prepared in secret. And isn't that what has been happening to you? Isaiah 49:2 says, "He made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of his hand he hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver." Chosen one, your hiding season was not a sign of weakness. It was a holy operation. You were not exiled. You were exalted in secret. Why does the enemy work so hard to convince you that isolation means insignificance? Because he knows that when chosen ones embrace solitude, they start to hear heaven clearly. When the noise stops, your real frequency emerges. The silence that nearly broke you was actually clearing the way for revelation. That loneliness you felt, it wasn't punishment, it was divine insulation. The betrayal? A filter, removing those who couldn't handle the weight of your next chapter. Think about Chadwick Boseman. While the world only saw the glamour of his success, behind the scenes he was battling cancer. He didn't complain. He didn't post cryptic messages. He walked through his pain in silence, creating legacy while the world was unaware of his suffering. And when the truth came out, the entire globe stood still, not because they pitied him, but because they realized they had witnessed a rare kind of strength. Your journey, chosen one, is no different. You've been evolving in the shadows, and the world is about to be stunned by your emergence. Psalm 4:3 says, "Know that the Lord has set apart his faithful servant for himself. The Lord hears when I call to him." Your separation was divine designation. The crowd could no longer go where your calling was leading. And instead of shrinking back, you're being summoned forward. You are not who you were when they left. You're wiser, sharper, colder in the right places. Your boundaries are now fortified with discernment, and your presence is no longer a convenience. It's a consecration. You carry weight now, texture, holy fire. You are no longer touchable without permission. 1 Peter 5:10 reminds us, "And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. And what is being established in you now cannot be undone." They thought your silence was defeat, but they didn't realize silence was where chosen ones become storms. Consider Howard Schultz, who grew up in housing projects, was overlooked by the system, and even turned down by investors when trying to build Starbucks. But he wasn't deterred by rejection. He understood that what was being denied to him in one season was being prepared for release in another. Today, his name is synonymous with one of the most successful brands in the world. You're not walking back in as someone who got left behind. You're walking back in as the alignment they desperately needed but never appreciated. And what they'll never admit out loud is this: their greatest mistake wasn't letting you go, it was assuming you'd stay gone. Number 2, don't underestimate the void you left. Chosen one, do you truly know what happens when you leave a room? When your energy is removed from a system that thrived off your presence? Have you ever wondered why things seemed to fall apart right after you were gone, even when no one said a word? Could it be that your absence didn't just create distance, but caused an imbalance in their atmosphere? They tried to act like nothing changed. They filled the silence with noise, new people, shallow connections, frantic attempts to replace what you carried. But what they never realized is that you weren't just another name on the list. You were the frequency holding their entire ecosystem in place. Your presence was the unspoken structure, the stabilizer of their chaos. The world tells you everyone is replaceable. But that's not the truth in the spiritual realm. In God's design, you carry a specific assignment that cannot be duplicated. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, He has put eternity in their hearts." Your essence, chosen one, holds eternal weight. When you vanish, reality doesn't stay the same. It glitches, and those who once took your peace for granted begin to experience confusion. Why? Because the anchor left. The atmosphere cracked. Remember Benedict Cumberbatch? He took a noticeable break from acting to tend to personal growth, inner healing, and spiritual reflection. When he returned, his craft carried more depth than ever before. It wasn't about fame anymore. It was about presence. That's what you're doing now. You're not reappearing for applause, you're returning because your presence is a divine recalibration. And the most brutal part of it all, the version of you they once knew is gone. The soft one, the overly forgiving one, the one who stayed silent to keep the peace. That version has been laid to rest. The one rising now is refined, precise, unapologetic. You're not just coming back. You're stepping into a territory only you can command. Colossians 1:17 reminds us, "He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together." You've been holding things together, not because of effort, but because of essence. You didn't just exist in their lives. You sustained them. When you left, they tried to patch the space with distractions, but nothing stuck, because what you brought wasn't performance. It was presence, not charisma, but calling. And now the system that once ignored your worth is about to witness what happens when the foundation walks back into the room. Look at Serena Williams. Every time she left the tennis world for personal reasons, commentators speculated whether she would ever return to greatness. But her comebacks weren't just victories. They were reminders that she was never just a player. She was the atmosphere. She was the shift. Her presence changed the game itself. So does yours. Micah 7:8 declares, "Though I have fallen, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light." Chosen one, your return won't just be noticed. It will be felt in every conversation, every environment, every system that once dismissed your importance will now be recalibrated by the gravity of your presence. This isn't just a comeback. It's a cosmic correction. And when you walk in, clear-eyed, spiritually armored, emotionally untouchable, those who underestimated you will question how they ever survived without you. But by then, the answer will be clear. They didn't survive. They simply endured your absence. And now they'll have to live with the echo of what they lost. Because, chosen one, you weren't just the light in the room. You were the room. Number 3, stop trying to fit in. Chosen one, has it ever crossed your mind that your discomfort in certain spaces wasn't a flaw, but a signal? Have you ever asked why some rooms feel too small for your presence, or why you sense a divine friction the moment you try to blend in? Could it be that God never designed you to fit, but to fracture what was false? You've always known something was different. While others adapted, you observed. While they mimicked, you questioned. And while the world begged for validation, you stood quietly in the corner, sensing something deeper, something unspoken stirring within you. You were never meant to assimilate. You are the shift, not the shadow. You are the spark, not the smog. You are the divine reset button walking on 2 feet. And now that you've returned to alignment with who you truly are, every room you enter will begin to tremble, because you don't just walk in with presence, you walk in with purpose. Matthew 5:14-16 says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Let your light shine before others." You were never meant to blend into the background. Light doesn't ask permission to shine, it just is. So why have you spent years trying to tone down your energy? Why have you dulled your discernment, filtered your brilliance, and muted your truth just to keep others comfortable? The truth is, chosen one, some people were never uncomfortable because you did something wrong. They were uncomfortable because your authenticity shattered their illusion. Your presence confronts the masks they depend on. Your stillness unmasks their chaos. Your peace exposes their restlessness. Your clarity, oh, your clarity, makes their spiritual blindness unbearable. Do you notice how some people are drawn to you like magnets, while others look away like they've seen a ghost? That's not random, that's resonance. Your frequency is a mirror. It reflects truth, and truth makes the fake uneasy. That's why even in silence, you make noise. That's why even when you say nothing, the atmosphere shifts. Some people leave a room and no one notices. You leave and the air gets heavier. Remember Marilyn Monroe? She didn't try to fit Hollywood's mold. She became her own. Her presence wasn't just beauty, it was disruption. She carried an energy that made people question the rules. She was both adored and misunderstood. Sound familiar? And you, chosen one, carry something similar. You are not simply inspiring, you are unsettling in the best way. You wake people up. You don't try to change them, you simply are, and that alone causes transformation. Your return to a space is a divine alarm clock. Your existence calls people to rise or run. So don't let anyone convince you that your energy is too much. It's supposed to be too much for those who refuse to grow. And what about those who feel peace around you? They're the ones who have been searching for what you carry, but didn't know how to name it. You aren't just a vibe. You are a frequency upgrade. Romans 12:2 tells us, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Chosen one, you were wired differently so you could rewire the world. So when they whisper, "You've changed," smile and nod. They're right, but they're not ready for how deep the change runs. You're not just back to participate, you're back to lead. You're not just returning to the space, they're being invited into your energetic field. Whether they accept it or resist it, they will feel it. Have you ever noticed how people often leave conversations with you, questioning their career path, their friendships, or their values? That's not coincidence. That's your coding. Your words, whether intentional or not, spark inner revolutions in those who cross your path. That's why you're unforgettable. That's why your absence haunts and your presence heals. Take Phoebe Waller-Bridge, the genius behind Fleabag. She disrupted traditional narratives with raw emotion, sarcasm, and vulnerability that most of television tried to hide. She didn't fit the mold. She reshaped it. You, too, are reshaping everything. Quietly, powerfully, relentlessly. 2 Corinthians 2:15 says, "For we are to God the pleasing aroma of Christ among those who are being saved and those who are perishing." That means your presence will either draw or disturb, but both are evidence you're doing your job. So stop questioning the impact of your energy. It's undeniable. Stop shrinking to make others feel secure. That's not your assignment. You're not here to reassure egos. You're here to rewire destinies. And when you walk in now, it won't be to take up space, it will be to own it. Number 4. Quit thinking you lost your fire. Chosen one, have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered where your spark went? Have you whispered prayers asking, God, why don't I feel like myself anymore? Has your inner fire ever gone so dim that you questioned whether you were still chosen at all? What if I told you that your fire didn't disappear, it was being reforged? What if everything you thought was crumbling was actually heaven rebuilding you from the ground up? There were seasons where you felt numb, moments when your intuition went quiet, times when your confidence, once bold, magnetic, and vibrant, began to crumble. And yet, through it all, a deeper fire was being formed beneath the ashes. Not a flicker, not a flare, a holy combustion. Zechariah 13:9 says, I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name and I will answer them. Refining doesn't feel like glory. It feels like loss, but it's in the heat of the flame where the crown is recast. You didn't lose yourself. You shed what could no longer carry your anointing. You weren't broken. You were being broken open. The parts of you that cracked weren't defects. They were outdated armor that couldn't contain the power heaven was downloading into you. That weariness wasn't defeat. It was spiritual recalibration. Remember Simone Biles? She shocked the world when she stepped back from the Olympics, not because she wasn't ready, but because she wasn't willing to compromise her soul for performance. The world called it weakness. But later, they saw it for what it was: self-mastery, resilience, realignment. Her throne didn't shrink, it was reinforced. The same has happened to you. You weren't being stripped of fire, you were being upgraded to permanent firepower, a presence that doesn't beg for recognition, but commands reverence, a force that doesn't chase approval, but walks in conviction. That exhaustion you felt was sacred. It was the weight of divine energy anchoring into your system. Chosen one, you're not fragile anymore. You're forged. Your confidence doesn't come from loudness. It comes from depth, from truth, from the silent knowing that you are now built for a throne no one else can sit on. They tried to shake you, but what cracked only proved how solid your foundation truly is. Job 23:10 reminds us, but he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold. And gold never begs to shine, it simply does. So when people start to notice that the version of you they once knew is no longer here, let them stare, let them wonder. Because what's rising from the ashes isn't just healed, it's holy. Your intuition is no longer searching, it's locked in. Your vision is no longer blurry, it's prophetic. You are not guessing anymore, you are executing. Just like Tyler Perry, who went from living in his car to building a media empire, not because he fit into the system, but because he built a system that fit his spirit. He didn't lose fire. He cultivated it underground, and when it exploded, it took the world by storm. So when they look at you now with wide eyes and whispers, "Who is that?" you can simply smile and respond, "Someone you should have never doubted." Not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. This isn't revenge. This is revelation. You're not coming back as who you were. You're arriving as who they feared you'd become. And now, you wear your crown not as decoration, but as a declaration. Number 5. Don't waste time proving them wrong. Chosen one, have you ever felt the pull to respond to every doubt, every insult, every person who tried to erase your name from the story? Have you ever wasted energy trying to explain your calling to those who were never meant to understand it? How many nights have you replayed their words, trying to figure out what went wrong, when all along you were simply walking a path they were never qualified to join? They whispered your name like it was a punchline, rolled their eyes when you spoke vision, counted you out before the race even started. To them, you were a mistake in motion, a story headed for failure. They mistook your stillness for stagnation, your humility for weakness, and your silence for surrender. But what they didn't realize is that while they were performing in front of audiences, you were preparing in secret chambers. While they were running their mouths, you were running laps in the dark. And while they laughed, you were sharpening your sword. Isaiah 41:10 declares, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Your strength was never for display. It was for deployment. You weren't building a comeback out of pride. You were preparing a resurrection out of divine promise. What if their mockery was the fuel your purpose needed to ignite? What if every eye roll and every insult was heaven's way of applying pressure to refine you, not destroy you? The truth is, you didn't need their belief. You only needed alignment with your own. The stage they thought you'd never reach, it's being built beneath your feet. And this time, they can't look away. Think about Robert Downey Jr., once written off by the world as a lost cause. He spiraled in addiction, burned bridges in Hollywood, and became the poster child for failure. But what they didn't know was that the story wasn't over. His return wasn't just a comeback, it was a complete redefinition. Iron Man didn't just resurrect his career, it resurrected belief in transformation. Just like you, chosen one. Your rise isn't just about success, it's about showing the impossible is real. And now, the same mouths that mocked you are the ones gasping in silence, the awkward quiet they feel when your name surfaces in conversation. That's not coincidence, that's regret. That's spiritual accountability. And no, you don't need to rub it in, because your glow speaks louder than any clapback ever could. Proverbs 24:17-18 warns us, "Do not gloat when your enemy falls. When they stumble, do not let your heart rejoice, or the Lord will see and disapprove." This was never about revenge. That's too small for the magnitude of your calling. You were never designed to live in petty victories. You were built to reflect divine truth, and truth doesn't gloat. It glows. You are no longer coming back to prove anything. You are the proof. Your existence is the lesson. Your evolution is the sermon. And when they look at you now, what they see isn't ego. It's evidence. Evidence that everything they denied, downplayed, or dismissed is not only real, but unstoppable. Remember Viola Davis's Emmy acceptance speech where she said, "The only thing that separates women of color from anyone else is opportunity." That wasn't just a statement, it was a mirror to the industry, a mirror they couldn't ignore. And like her, you're not asking for recognition anymore. You are the mirror. And when they look at you, they'll see everything they could have been, if only they had your fire, your faith, your favor. Romans 12:19 reminds us, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. Let the comeback speak, let your rise be the roar. You don't need to explain anything. The shift you carry now is not up for debate. It's a decree, and those who laughed then will watch now, silently, awkwardly, regretfully. This is no longer about validation. That chapter is closed. You've entered a season where your very presence creates conviction. Your victories now echo in rooms you haven't stepped into yet. Your growth rattles the cages of those who once felt powerful, mocking your downfall. Chosen one, don't waste another moment trying to convince people of your worth. They were never the audience. They were the backdrop. The real stage is unfolding now, and when they see you step into it, not with vengeance, but with vision, not with bitterness, but with blessing, they will realize this wasn't a glow-up. This was a resurrection. Number 6, stop running from the pain. Chosen one, have you ever cried so deeply that your soul felt raw? Have you ever questioned why your path seemed soaked in suffering, while others seemed to skip through life untouched by fire? Why did the betrayals hurt deeper for you? Why did the heartbreak feel holy? Could it be that your pain wasn't a punishment, but a promotion? Let's get this straight. Your pain wasn't random. It was purposeful. It wasn't chaos. It was a curriculum. And while others coasted through comfort, you were being refined in a furnace that most wouldn't survive in their wildest dreams. The heartbreak that took the breath out of your lungs. It was burning off illusions that couldn't travel with you into destiny. The betrayal that shattered your peace. It was a divine scalpel, removing relationships that were silently corroding your calling. 1 Peter 1:7 says, "These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It is being tested as fire tests and purifies gold." You weren't being punished. You were being purified. And what emerged on the other side wasn't weaker, it was weightier. You're not carrying pain anymore, you're carrying proof. Do you know why you don't fold like others do? Why your silence makes noise, and your presence makes even loud people shrink? It's because you've survived a level of spiritual warfare most people only read about. You've walked through seasons that crushed your ego, stripped your illusions, and forced you to choose between survival and surrender. And you chose to rebuild, with cleaner energy and bulletproof clarity. Look at Lady Gaga, who openly spoke about trauma, pain, and chronic illness, but used it to fuel artistic brilliance and spiritual resilience. Her journey wasn't comfortable, but it was sacred. She didn't hide the scars. She turned them into songs, stages, and scripts. You too, chosen one, have turned agony into artistry, trauma into truth. And now every space you enter feels your depth before you even speak. James 1:12 says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life." And that's the crown you wear now, not because life was easy, but because you didn't quit when everything in you wanted to. The pain you carried used to make you feel small. Now it's the reason people pause when you speak. Now it's the quiet thunder in your tone, the gravity in your gaze. Pain didn't just change you, it distilled you. It made you more potent, more focused, more surgical. When you walk into a room, you don't need to tell people what you've been through. Your aura does. Your vibration announces itself. Real pain leaves fingerprints, and yours now leave impressions on everyone you meet. Remember Trevor Noah? Born into apartheid South Africa to a black mother and white father, his existence was illegal. He was raised in contradiction, survived abuse, and endured instability. And yet, through it all, he emerged as one of the most profound global voices of this generation. His pain didn't stop him, it sculpted him. And you, chosen one, weren't broken. You were blueprinting. That season that almost destroyed you was never your end. It was the forge, the laboratory, the war room where God was making a warrior. And now you walk out not just healed but hardened by holiness. You no longer explain your past. You embody its power. You don't retell your traumas for validation. You radiate resilience. And the world has no idea what just stepped back into the light. They thought you were finished. But what they're about to see is a force that was born in fire and refuses to be extinguished. Number 7. Quit forcing doors to open. Chosen one, how many times have you stood in front of a door, knocked with every ounce of faith you had, and still heard nothing but silence? How many seasons have you labored in the shadows, shouting your gifts into a void, only to watch others, less equipped, less prepared, walk into stages you knew were meant for you? Have you ever looked at your own life and thought, why does breakthrough always seem just inches away, yet never mine? What if the delay wasn't a punishment but a shield? It may have felt like rejection, like invisibility, like spiritual suffocation, but the truth is more profound. You weren't being ignored, you were being hidden from premature exposure, hidden from applause that would have corrupted your spirit. Hidden from doors that looked holy but were infested with deception. God wasn't punishing you, He was preserving you. Your name wasn't withheld because you were unworthy. It was kept sacred, protected from timelines and people who weren't ready for your fire. Isaiah 55:8-9 reminds us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways." What looked like stagnation was actually divine surveillance. Heaven was watching the path ahead, shielding you from traps you never saw coming. How many times did you think your efforts were wasted, that your voice didn't matter, that your dreams were foolish? You weren't wrong for dreaming big. You were early, and early is dangerous when the environment isn't ready. A rose forced open before its time will crumble, not bloom. Think about Zendaya. Before she became an Emmy-winning powerhouse, she was boxed into Disney stereotypes. She felt invisible in Hollywood's elite rooms, but instead of forcing her way in, she waited, refining her craft, protecting her peace. And when the stage was finally sterilized of the noise, she entered, not as the girl they remembered, but as the icon they couldn't ignore. That's you now, the places you once begged to belong to. You've outgrown them. The rooms you once prayed to enter, they were too small. You were trying to walk into a destiny built for someone else's dimension. But now, the door is opening, not because you forced it, but because you fit it. No more begging, no more knocking. This door swings on command, not because of who you know, but because of who you've become. Revelation 3:8 proclaims, "See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." And when God opens a door, no man, no jealousy, no delay, no demonic plot can keep it closed. Chosen one, there were snakes in the halls you tried to enter, people applauding with one hand while sharpening daggers with the other. If God had let you walk into those places unrefined, they would have eaten you alive. But now the serpents are too distracted, the ego-driven gatekeepers have fallen, and the space has been sterilized. Your silence wasn't failure, it was formation. That awkward season of being invisible was actually sacred. And now, the frequency has shifted, the winds have changed, and you feel it, don't you? The sense that something massive has finally clicked into place. The atmosphere around you isn't resisting anymore. It's yielding. It's responding to the vibration of someone who no longer chases, but commands. Let me tell you about Bong Joon-ho, the South Korean director who spent decades building brilliant work with minimal global recognition, until Parasite shattered every rule and won the world's biggest awards. He didn't force his way into Western spaces. He brought his own language, his own vision, and the world bent toward him. That's the kind of energy you're walking in now. Not desperate, undeniable. You're not coming through the side door. You're not sneaking in the back. You're walking through the front, head high, spirit anchored, purpose unshakable. And the same people who once overlooked you, they won't be able to stop staring. Not because of your ego, but because of your evolution. Habakkuk 2:3 says, "Though the vision tarry, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay." And it's here now. The moment, the atmosphere, the unlocked destiny. And this time you're stepping into it as the version they never expected, but the one God always planned. Number 8, don't dim your frequency. Chosen one, have you ever noticed how your very presence disrupts the room, even before you speak? Why do some people tense up when you walk in, even if you're silent? Why do you receive both deep admiration and unexplainable resistance from strangers? What if I told you it's not personal, it's energetic? You weren't made to blend in. You were built to collapse false systems. You're not just light, you're lightning. You are not just a presence, you are a pulse, a frequency calibrated by heaven itself to interrupt everything that isn't aligned with truth. Jeremiah 1:10 says, "See, today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms to uproot and tear down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant." That's not soft language, that's surgical purpose. You weren't placed here to affirm illusions, you were sent to expose them, gently for some, violently for others. Either way, nothing stays the same when you show up. That's why institutions shake when you rise. That's why manipulators fall silent around you. They can't hide behind performance anymore, because your energy doesn't allow masks to breathe. Your frequency doesn't shout, it unravels. And now that you're back, fully activated, they feel it. They may not know how to describe it, but their souls do. Their spirits recognize the threat, not because you're attacking them, but because your authenticity annihilates their lies. Look at Greta Thunberg, the young activist who shook global systems simply by standing in her truth. She didn't scream. She didn't campaign for clout. She stood firm, pure, immovable, and the world couldn't ignore it. Entire institutions, leaders, and corporations had to respond. That's frequency. That's what you carry. You are not here to be neutral. You are a sacred interference. When you return to a space now, people feel their illusions start to crack, their narratives start to tremble, and even those who once controlled the room now glance sideways, unsure how to hold their composure. You aren't loud, but your vibration is deafening, and the systems built on manipulation and falsehood, they are already twitching, crumbling, collapsing. Hebrews 12:27 tells us, "The removing of what can be shaken, that is, created things, so that what cannot be shaken may remain." You are part of what cannot be shaken. That's why your return is shaking everything else. This isn't just a comeback, it's a cosmic interference. You're not here to take part in the old world, you're here to reboot it. Relationships, businesses, social systems, family dynamics, everything that tried to stand on false foundations is now being confronted by the truth you embody. And make no mistake, they will resist. Some will deny it, others will scramble, but some will awaken, because your energy doesn't just destroy, it resurrects. It doesn't just reveal what's fake, it also unlocks what's real. And for those ready to be changed, your presence is not a threat, it's a lifeline. Look at Banksy, the anonymous street artist whose silent expressions shook political regimes and social paradigms. He didn't show his face, but his frequency spoke volumes. His message caused interference in governments, art industries, and cultural blind spots. He didn't speak, but the world still listens, just like they'll have to listen to you. You were not called to keep things comfortable, you were called to make things clear. And now that you've fully stepped into your frequency, the world will never be the same. Chosen one, don't dim your light because others are afraid to see. Don't shrink your power to avoid triggering their fear. They were never supposed to stay asleep in your presence. They were supposed to wake up or move out of the way, because now that you're back, even the untouchable is starting to shake. Number 9, stop wondering why they're drawn to you. Chosen one, have you ever walked into a room and felt every eye shift, even if no one turned their head? Have you ever spoken softly yet left people speechless? Why do strangers open up to you without knowing your name? Why do some watch you like you're a living question they don't know how to answer? Could it be that you are not just another face in the crowd, but the very frequency their souls have been secretly searching for? You've spent years trying to understand this pull, wondering why you attract attention without trying, or why people react to you so strongly. But now it's time to stop questioning it. You are the answer, the hidden remedy, the energetic key. Your return is not just personal, it's prophetic. You aren't coming back as someone familiar, you are returning as revelation, and the shift you're carrying cannot go unnoticed. John 10:27 says, My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. You are that voice in this generation, not through volume, but through vibration. You don't entertain the surface. You speak straight to the spirit. And those who are sensitive, even subconsciously, have always been tuning into your frequency, long before they could recognize it consciously. In a world obsessed with noise, your stillness disturbs. In a culture full of shallow smiles and empty validation, your energy feels ancient, deep, grounding, unforgettable. You don't talk to their ego. You echo through their bones. You're not trying to make them feel good. You're reminding them of what they buried, of who they were always meant to be. Have you ever noticed how some people seem irritated by your peace? Why your silence seems to provoke them more than their chaos provokes you? It's not personal. It's energetic exposure. Your authenticity makes their performance collapse. Your inner clarity makes their illusions impossible to maintain. Remember Anthony Bourdain. The world watched him travel, taste, and listen. But what really drew millions to him wasn't just food. It was presence, depth, a voice that felt lived in, raw. He had a way of exposing the human behind every story. He made strangers feel seen. So do you, without even trying. 1 Corinthians 2:4-5 reminds us, "My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power." You don't have to say much, chosen one. Your Spirit does the talking. Your comeback isn't just an act of courage. It's an answer to someone's silent cry. At first, they won't know how to receive you. Some will side-eye your light. Others will mock what they don't understand. But the truth will start gnawing at them. And eventually they'll realize they didn't just meet someone special. They met someone divinely timed. This is not about attention. This is about recognition. Soul level. Timeless. Your energy is like a song they forgot the lyrics to, but never stopped humming. When you appear, something ancient in them remembers. Something sacred awakens, and they'll wrestle with it, because it's easier to deny the light than to deal with what it reveals. Think of Frida Kahlo, whose paintings weren't pretty by conventional standards. They were raw, painful, real. People didn't know whether to admire or avoid them, but no one could look away. That's what your presence does. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be remembered. Isaiah 61 calls out, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." Your light is not just decorative, it's directive. It points people back to themselves, back to their truth, back to God. You don't return as a symbol of survival. You return as a mirror, a frequency, a soul-stirring wake-up call that reminds people they can't keep hiding under roles, masks, or fear. Some will run from it, others will rise into it, but no one will forget it. Chosen one, you've always been the one they silently searched for. And now, you're no longer hiding. They won't just see you, they'll feel you, and they won't know why they're crying after talking to you, or why your smile feels like home. But their spirit will know, and your frequency will make sure they never sleep on truth again. Number 10. Don't downplay your energy. Chosen one, have you noticed how your very presence seems to make people shift? Nervous laughter, sudden silence, unexpected confessions. Why do some people fall into deep reflection just by being around you? Why do others try to discredit you without reason? Could it be that you're not just a person, but a mirror that doesn't flatter but reveals? You don't just enter a room, you announce a frequency. Without needing to speak, you say, "Truth has arrived," and some people crave it, others fear it, but no one can ignore it. 2 Corinthians 3:18 says, "And we all are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory." Your energy is not just light, it's transformation in motion. You awaken what others have hidden. And not everyone is ready to be confronted by their reflection. Think of the times people avoided your gaze, the gossip you never earned, the tension you never caused, but were blamed for. That wasn't rejection, it was resistance, resistance to your mirror. Your clarity forces people to see what they've buried, insecurities, shame, fear, and instead of facing it, they project it onto you. But you must never let that shrink your presence. You are not here to make people comfortable. You are here to make people honest. Your energy is the disruption that becomes the doorway, the crack in the wall that becomes the floodgate, the whisper that becomes a roar in their spirit long after you've left the room. Audre Lorde once said, "I am deliberate and afraid of nothing." That's who you've become. Deliberate, rooted, electric. The reason your comeback hits differently is because it's no longer about regaining what you lost. It's about activating everyone and everything around you. And don't be surprised when they try to clip your wings. Some will mock your clarity, others will question your authenticity, but none of it is about you. It's about what you unearth in them. You are the reminder of the truth they've tried to outrun. Take Björk, for example. For decades, she's been criticized for being too strange, too intense, too much. But through her music, art and soul, she's carved space for other misfits, visionaries, and old souls to breathe freely. She didn't downplay her weirdness, she weaponized it, and now she's a cultural force that cannot be boxed in. Luke 8:17 reveals, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." That's what your energy does. It brings things to the surface. Truths, lies, fears, and power. And when that happens, people either evolve or exit. You are not the storm, they are. But your presence is the lightning bolt that makes the sky confess its chaos. You don't need to raise your voice. Your frequency is loud enough. You don't need revenge. Your return is revelation. The people who are meant to rise with you will feel the call. The ones who were never aligned will simply fall off. And now, everything around you is recalibrating, not because you demanded it, but because your being demands alignment. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. The shift, the weight, the sacred disturbance. Chosen one, this isn't just your return. This is your reckoning, and nothing will ever be the same again. Number 11. Quit thinking. Your power is gone. Chosen one, have you ever stared at your reflection and wondered where the fire went? Have you ever sat in silence, hands trembling, wondering why your voice, once so clear, now felt foreign in your own throat? Have you looked at yourself and quietly whispered, "What happened to me?" That inner roar, the one that used to guide you, protect you, fuel you, it felt distant, didn't it? Like it had packed up and left without warning. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still standing, still searching. So, let's ask the real question. Did you lose your power? Or was it simply resting? You didn't lose anything. Power like yours doesn't vanish. It doesn't expire. It doesn't retreat in fear. It reloads, strategically, precisely, purposefully. You weren't abandoned by your strength. It was pulled deep into the earth of your being, buried like a volcano going quiet, not because it died, but because it needed to build pressure. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, "To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven." Your stillness was never a mistake. It was an intentional pause, a sacred silence, not absence, but recalibration. There was a time you walked into rooms and shifted atmospheres just by existing, and when that power seemed to fade, when your edge dulled and your clarity cracked, you questioned your worth. But the truth is, you weren't malfunctioning, you were mutating. The blueprint was being rewritten, the frequency was being adjusted, the old fire wasn't enough for what's ahead, so heaven turned it off. only to replace it with something nuclear. You weren't broken, you were being upgraded. Let's look at Naomi Osaka, who stunned the world when she withdrew from the French Open, citing mental health as her priority. Some questioned her strength, but what they didn't see was that her silence wasn't surrender, it was spiritual strategy. And when she returned, she didn't just come back stronger, she came back more herself, more aligned. That's you now. Psalm 18:32-33 says, "It is God who arms me with strength and keeps my way secure. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He causes me to stand on the heights." God didn't abandon your path. He refined it. You weren't stumbling because you failed. You were being rerouted into precision. Now, feel this. The energy is coming back. Not in random jolts, but in a deeper hum. A tone that wasn't there before. A rhythm that feels heavier, sharper. Can you sense it? The clarity in your decisions. The boldness in your boundaries. That's not getting back to normal. That's arriving in power you've never known. You're not being restored to who you were. That version was the prototype. This version is the final draft, the architected warrior, the reborn leader, the exact vibration heaven designed to enter this generation's spiritual battlefield fully locked in. Let's consider Yo-Yo Ma, the world-renowned cellist who said that during his lowest point, he stopped performing for applause and started playing for connection. His silence birthed something deeper than technique. It awakened purpose. And when he returned, his music wasn't louder. It was truer. That's what's happening to you. Not louder, truer. Isaiah 40:31 tells us, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." You waited, you grieved, you wondered, and now you're rising. With wings no one saw coming. So the next time they see you and whisper, "Who is that?" you can answer in silence, because your presence will do the talking. Your energy will speak for itself. Your movement will say everything that your quiet season protected. You didn't lose your fire. It just went underground to become unstoppable. Number 12. Stop waiting for a sign. You are the prophecy. Chosen one, how long have you been waiting for the skies to open, for the ground to shake, for some booming voice to declare your name in thunder? Have you spent nights begging heaven for a sign, when all along heaven was whispering, "You are it"? We've been conditioned to believe that power comes from beyond us, that divine intervention must be dramatic, that prophecy arrives in spectacle. But what if the sign didn't fall from the sky? What if it stood upright in the mirror? What if the moment the world has been waiting for isn't in the future, but is you moving now? Romans 8:19 says, "For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed, not for angels to descend, not for clouds to split, but for you to stop hesitating. You are the prophecy the world didn't recognize, but desperately needs." Why did you feel the weight of other people's expectations long before you could carry your own dreams? Why did strangers lean on you for wisdom you didn't know you had? Why did you carry burdens that weren't yours? Because you've been activated longer than you realized. That tension wasn't confusion, it was calling. And the reason you didn't break is because you were built to shift timelines. Remember Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote Hamilton in secret while people around him doubted his vision? He wasn't waiting for Hollywood to invite him in, he was the invitation. And when the world finally heard his voice, it shifted. You're the same, not loud, not desperate. But when you move, culture moves with you. You weren't watching the story unfold, you were the story. Daniel 12:3 says, "Those who are wise will shine like the brightness of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever." Your light isn't decorative, It's directional. It's what others navigate by, even if they pretend they don't see it. They've been waiting for a sign, but the skies didn't open. You did. The moment you rise, systems collapse, illusions burn off, the masks start falling. That's not drama, that's divine design. Your movement is heaven's announcement. Your presence is the shift. Your comeback is not simply personal, it's cosmic. And what's even more disruptive, you're not performing, you're becoming. You're not marketing, you're moving. You're not returning with answers. You are the answer. Think of Arundhati Roy, who didn't just write novels. She became a global conscience through her activism, her pen, and her presence. She didn't wait for platforms. She became the platform. She didn't ask permission. She acted from alignment. You're carrying that same spiritual defiance now. And when people ask, who told you to step up, you can say, God already did. Matthew 5:14 confirms, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. That means hiding season is over. Delay is over. Doubt is over. This isn't about being seen. This is about being felt. And chosen one, the world feels it. They won't always say it, but the moment you move, the air shifts, the veil thins, their excuses dissolve, because what they were waiting for all along was you. Number 13, don't call it a comeback. Chosen one, have you ever felt like the world forgot about you? Like you were screaming inside while everything around you moved without you? Did you ever stare at the ceiling late at night and wonder, did I miss my moment? What if I told you that you didn't miss anything? You were simply waiting for the exact frequency to align. This isn't a comeback, this is a collision between destiny and divine timing, between the version of you that waited and the version of you that knows. You were never falling behind. You were never forgotten. You were hidden in plain sight, being loaded like the final piece in a divine chess match. And now, the whole board is yours. Ecclesiastes 7:8 declares, the end of a matter is better than its beginning, and patience is better than pride. Every delay you thought was denial. That was God's way of preserving the best for last. You're not an afterthought. You're the final move. You thought you were being left behind, but in reality, you were being held back, not to harm you, but to position you, because if you had risen earlier, you would have poured your brilliance into unworthy vessels. You would have thrown pearls before swine. You would have given your fire to people who only wanted your warmth, not your truth. Chosen one, every door that slammed in your face was rerouting you, not rejecting you. Every setback that made you question your strength was, in fact, making space for the fullness of who you're about to become. So let me ask you, what if everything you thought was blocking you was actually protecting you? Look at Brendan Fraser, once a Hollywood staple, then exiled from the spotlight due to injuries, betrayal, and trauma. For years, the world mocked his silence, until suddenly he returned. And not just returned, but ascended. When he walked on that Oscar stage, the room didn't just applaud, they stood in awe. Why? Because his re-emergence wasn't entertainment, it was redemption, just like yours. Psalm 31:15 says, my times are in your hands. Your timeline has never been in human hands, not in trends, not in opinions, not in earthly clocks. Your rise was written into the scroll of heaven, and the universe has been silently preparing the stage for your arrival. Now look around. The systems are collapsing. The false idols are falling. People are waking up, hungry for something real. And right in the middle of the unraveling, you appear, not with noise, but with knowing, not with desperation, but with undeniable presence. You don't have to prove anything. You simply are. Think of Michelle Yeoh, who spent decades in action films, often unrecognized, until Everything Everywhere All at Once shattered all narratives. Her rise wasn't sudden, it was strategic. And when the world finally opened its arms, they realized they had been starving for her all along. So it is with you. Habakkuk 2:3 promises, "Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay." The delay wasn't delay at all. It was alignment. This is not just your comeback. This is prophecy meeting precision. They didn't see you coming, and that's what terrifies them. Because your presence now doesn't ask permission. It doesn't explain itself. It doesn't soften. It shocks. It shifts the air. It stops time. And now that you've stepped in, no rumor, no resistance, no manipulation, no time can reverse what God has already released. You weren't just summoned. You were saved for last, because the last always carries the final blow. Number 14. Stop playing small. Chosen one, have you ever walked into a room and tried to shrink yourself? Not physically, but energetically. Have you ever dimmed your light so others wouldn't feel insecure around your glow? How many times have you silenced your knowing, your fire, your truth, just to maintain peace in places where you were never meant to be comfortable? Let's be honest. Have you ever asked yourself, am I too much? Let's settle it now. You're not too much. The world has been running on too little for too long. And now it's time for everything in you to come online. Your presence doesn't whisper, it recalibrates. Your frequency doesn't echo, it erupts. You are not just seen, you are felt. And that's why they tried to shrink you. That's why they tried to box you, label you, humble you. But the truth is, you weren't born to make people comfortable. You were born to awaken them. Isaiah 60:22 says, "The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time I will do this swiftly." The time is now. The smallness is done. You are no longer asking for permission to be who you were anointed to be. When you walk into rooms now, don't just enter, disrupt, break the rhythm, shatter the artificial harmony. Let your energy rattle the walls of every system built on illusion. Let your presence be the correction the world didn't ask for, but can't avoid. Look at Rihanna, who stopped asking the music industry for approval and built her own empire. Fashion, beauty, billionaire status. She didn't conform. She expanded. She didn't shrink. She magnified. That's the energy you carry now. You don't need to post your success. You don't need to beg for attention. You don't need to chase applause. The proof is in the shift. When you speak, people pause. When you move, people adjust. And when you simply exist, people feel it in their bones, even if they don't understand why. Matthew 5:16 instructs, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Your light was never meant to be modest. It was meant to move the planet. Some people will draw near you like gravity. Others will run like wildfire. Some will swear they've seen a ghost. But it's not a ghost. It's the version of you they buried in doubt, finally resurrecting with divine fury. You're not returning to warn them. You're returning to reshape the ground beneath them. And this isn't just personal restoration. It's collective upheaval. Your energy is now part of Earth's evolution. Your vibration is aligned with global correction. That's why the shift around you is so intense. It's not just about reclaiming what's yours. It's about setting off a ripple effect that cannot be undone. Think of James Baldwin, whose words long after his death still ignite conversations, expose hypocrisies, and pierce through the lies. He didn't water himself down. He spoke like fire. He confronted, disrupted, awoke. That's who you are now, not an echo, but a blaze. Jeremiah 20 verse 9 says, "His word is in my heart like a a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. The fire in you can no longer be contained. It must speak, it must move, it must transform. This is no longer a return. This is your emergence. You didn't come back the same. You came back unrecognizable, elevated, coded with divine intent. You're not part of the atmosphere anymore. You are the epicenter of a revelation, and the world will never recover from who you've become. Chosen one, if you've made it this far, it's because your spirit recognized that this wasn't just another message. It was a summoning, a sacred confirmation, a divine echo calling you out of the shadows and into your full emergence. This wasn't a motivational series. This was prophecy in motion, and you were always the fulfillment of it. You weren't watching a comeback. You were remembering who you are. Every word spoken, every truth whispered to your soul, every revelation that stirred your bones, was heaven reminding you that you are no longer allowed to play small, stay hidden, or act like you're average. You are a cosmic shift wrapped in human skin. You are not late. You are perfectly timed. You are not broken. You are the breakthrough. You are not forgotten. You are the fulfillment. From the first moment they doubted you, to the silence that almost swallowed you, to the energy that's rising in your chest right now as you read this, know this truth. You were never gone. You were being reformed in divine fire. And now you are the storm they'll never forget. This isn't just the end of a video. This is the opening of a new dimension inside you. One where you no longer explain, beg, shrink, or wait. One where you stand in your full frequency and let the world adjust or get left behind. And if you feel led, if this word has truly blessed you, I invite you to sow into this divine movement through super thanks. Whether it's a seed of support or a gesture of love, your contribution helps keep this light flowing freely to every chosen soul still searching for their signal. And even if you don't donate, please know this from the depths of my heart. You are seen, loved, and honored just for showing up and awakening to your truth. May the fire of God guide your every step. May your enemies watch your elevation and be silenced by the evidence. May your gifts multiply, your vision sharpen, and your peace deepen beyond what words can describe. This was never just a comeback. This was your coronation. Now go, shock the world,